When most people imagine a nonprofit, it's the 501c3 charity that usually comes to mind. But there are many other types of tax-exempt nonprofits, more than 25 types to be exact. A few weeks ago, we discussed 501c4 social welfare organizations, and today's conversation is about 501c6 business leagues. What's a business league, you ask? Let's jump into it and find out. I'm Greg McRae, founder and CEO of Foundation Group, and welcome to our 501c3 University channel. Today we're talking about 501c6s. Now, a 501c6 organization is typically known by one of two things, a trade association or a business league. Now, sometimes these terms mean the same thing, and sometimes they don't. The more important point is that a 501c6 represents the business interest of its members, not necessarily the public at large. The IRS definition goes like this. A business league is an association of persons having some common business interest, the purpose of which is to promote such common interest and not to engage in a regular business of a kind ordinarily carried on for profit. Imagine, somebody at the IRS actually got paid to come up with that confusing sentence. The best way to think about it is this. A 501c6 business league is a member organization. Now that's important. That exist for the purpose of supporting a common business interest of their members. Now, the latter part of that IRS definition means that a business league doesn't conduct business of its own with the public, at least not in a typical commercial manner. The IRS goes on to say, to be exempt as a business league, an organization's activities must be devoted to improving the business conditions of one or more lines of business as distinguished from performing particular services for individual persons. Now, it must be shown that the conditions of a particular trade or the interest of the community will be advanced. In other words, when a nonprofit is seeking 501c6 status from the IRS, that nonprofit must adequately describe how its activities will indeed improve the business condition of the members. Next, I want to look at a few examples of 501c6s. A little more background before we do, though. A 501c6 must be organized as a nonprofit entity, usually a nonprofit corporation. But just like with other non-charitable nonprofits, the 501c6 must be non-commercial in nature. On its face, that may sound funny. How can a 501c6 be non-commercial when it has a business purpose? Well, it really does go back to the notion that the activity shouldn't be the direct offering of services to the public. All activities of the 501c6 should be for the benefit of its members. Now, here's some examples. A chamber of commerce, whether local, regional, or national, is a perfect example of a business league. These are typically organizations where the membership is made up of companies, not individuals, who all happen to do business in a common geographic area. Now, chambers of commerce don't have their own line of business, meaning they don't sell stuff to the public. Instead, they work toward the betterment of the business environment for their members. Now, it's particularly easy to see this with more local, city-oriented chambers. Shop locally and support our community's small businesses. You will see chambers of commerce that are larger, though, like ones that represent an entire state and maybe even the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which represents businesses across the entire U.S. Next, let's talk about trade associations. A trade association may have individual members, business members, or maybe both. An example of a trade association geared toward individuals may be a member organization that supports a particular group of professionals like attorneys, cosmetologists, mechanics. Now, this is not to be confused with labor unions. They represent individual workers in their interaction with specific employers. Trade associations for individuals work to better the business prospects overall for their members without regard to who employs them. Activities and programs can include trade publications, conventions, continuing education opportunities, maybe even job boards. Trade associations geared more toward business members are likely to be made up of companies in the same line of business. Now, this is a fictitious trade association, but imagine there was one called the National Association of Independent Muffler Shop Owners. I think you can see where we're going with this, and you can imagine what that would look like. I use that fake group to make a broader point about this, though. The IRS will not allow owners of the same exclusive brand to form a 501c6. In fact, in the late 1970s, a group of Midas Muffler Shop franchisees attempted to do just that. The IRS rejected the bid, and on appeal, the tax court agreed with the IRS. To form a 501c6 trade association, it must represent the entire industry, not just a particular brand. Let's talk about professional sports. I love bringing up this category mainly because it surprises people. Believe it or not, the NFL, National Football League, was a 501c6 business league until it voluntarily gave up its tax-exempt status in 2015. Now, it did so not because it didn't qualify to be a 501c6, but mainly because of negative personal opinion. I would have loved to have seen them stick to their guns and use the opportunity to explain that the NFL was a textbook example of a 501c6 business league rather than back down. The confusion came from people somehow thinking that the teams themselves were nonprofit. Unfortunately, the NFL caved. But the NFL wasn't the first to cave. The NBA gave up its 501c6 status back in 2007. Major League Baseball never was a 501c6. There's other professional sports leagues that still operate under 501c6, however, including the NHL, National Hockey League, Professional Golfers Association, the PGA, and the LPGA. We happen to be shooting this video during Masters Week, so when you see those guys chasing little white balls around Augusta National, you know now that the PGA is a 501c6. Starting a 501c6 involves incorporation, followed by applying to the IRS for tax-exempt status, just like it is for charitable nonprofits. But as we discussed when talking about other non-charitable categories, the IRS requires 501c6 applicants to use Form 1024 or 1024A instead of the Form 1023 that charities use. Foundation Group assists dozens of 501c6 organizations every year, so if you need help, give us a call. Donations to 501c6 nonprofits are not tax deductible to the donor, at least not as a charitable contribution. However, members of a 501c6 can deduct dues and expenses and assessments and any other expenses associated with 501c6 membership as an ordinary business expense, so that's a very nice workaround. Most Americans could not tell you what a 501c6 is, but those very same people have likely interacted with one. Whether it's the activities of your local Chamber of Commerce or the PGA golf match on your TV on a Sunday afternoon, 501c6 organizations are valuable nonprofits that impact our communities in positive ways. Well, that's it for this episode. If you liked this video, be sure and click the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget the little bell icon to be notified of new videos when we post them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.